Hey, this is Passy from Passy's World of ICT, the guy with the white hat and still with the head cold and flu as well. I can't believe it's lasted a whole week. Hopefully I will not be coughing all the way through this video. Now this next video, we're just going to be learning about the timer in VBNet, one of the tools. It's going to be important later on for making games. We're also going to learn about icons. So let's get on to it and let's get into it and let's get started. Okay, so this one's the VBNet desktop clock program, the second program in our gaming series. And we're going to make a clock that shows the current date and time. So there's the clock there, and it just shows what's going on with the date and time. And so that's what we're going to learn about, how to use this timer object, and we'll just be showing date and time of it, but there's a lot of other things you can do with the timer object as well, particularly in games where you have a countdown timer or how long it's taking that they've been in the game, and then you can do all sorts of things based on the time. And we're also going to make these little ICO icon images. So you can see up the corner of this project desktop clock, see how it's got a little clock there, a little icon of a clock? Yeah, well, we're going to learn how to make those and put them into your project rather than just having the kind of boring regular Microsoft symbol there. And this will pave the way for our next course lesson, where we're going to take our clock and we're going to turn it into a talking alarm clock. Yes, the computer is going to talk to us. So that's going to be very exciting. Now we're using British or Australian date here, so we're in day, month, year format. Now, if you're in the USA, of course, you guys do it backwards and you put the month first. So look, that'll be okay. We're going to show you how to do that later on in the video. It's very easy. Now, if you're a beginner VBNet programmer, you need to have made sure you did that first lesson we had on the jumping button, because that shows you the whole interface development environment, the IDE, shows you how to start a new project, how to load up an old project, the folder structure, all the things you need to know, the fundamentals of doing labels and buttons on your form as well. So if you haven't done that one, you will have to just stop now and go and do that. So the form design's just going to look like this. That's what we've got to start off with. So the first thing is that we have the form. Now we've just changed the back color here to a purple color, but you can choose whatever web color you like for that. And the text property we changed to desktop clock. That's how it put desktop clock up in the top left-hand corner. Now the icon will show you how to do later. Now I'm kind of a bit of a slow talker, so we suggest you watch this video at 1.5x or even 1.75x because the way I do it's going to be too slow for most people. So just, yeah, go to that tools cog on the YouTube player bar, just put it up to 1.5x, 1.75x, it'll be good. Now these guys are all labels, so these ones down here are all pretty much the same. So all we're doing is we're just setting the back color to black. We've got a 4 color. Remember, that's the color of the font, 4 color. That's smoky white. So it's not quite as bright and glary as normal white. It's called smoky white. Smoke white, that's a good one to use. Now to get these little borders around here like that, so they look a little bit 3D, that's using border style fixed 3D. And the text size we're using there is 24 point, just the normal sans serif font, and we're just typing 4 X's in there to get started. All right, now these need to have special names because we're going to refer to them in the program. So this one in the name property does need to be LBL day name, and the next one needs to be LBL time. Okay, so make sure you spell them in the name property exactly like they are here, or you'll find later on your program code doesn't work, and the properties are all the same. So what you can actually do is you can just make one of these first, and then you can go Control-C, Control-V on your form, and Control-V again. You can copy and paste these rather than setting up each one individually. And this last one down the bottom here with the black background is LBL Oz AUS date. Okay, so that's where it's going to show the date. Now these guys on the right hand side are almost identical, except we're just using 4 color yellow for the font. And this one's going to be the LBL day number, which will actually say the day's name, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then we're going to have the next one is the LBL month name. And so it'll say the month of the name of the month, like October or November or whatever. And this last one is LBL year. So yeah, make sure you give these all the exact spelling names that they are here, because that's going to be really critical for the code. And down the bottom, we've got the button, and that needs an exact name as well. So make sure in the name property you set that to BTN in little letters close, and text, it needs to say close to get that text writing on the button, and the font size we're just using there is 12. Okay, so that is the whole form setup. So pause the video, you know, get your form set up like that. Now, if you don't know what back color is and what fore color is and these other things we're mentioning here, that's because you've been naughty and you haven't done the jumping button program where we explain all that. So you must have a background in this first, and jumping button will give you everything you need to know to carry on to this lesson. All right, now the first thing we're going to add on to the form now that we've got all those things is the timer. So in the toolbox, if you go down underneath text box, there's a thing called timer, and you just hold your mouse down on that and drag it onto the form. But it doesn't go onto the form like a label or a button. It actually goes under the form, okay? And we need to show you something about this because it is a little bit tricky. So look, here's Microsoft Visual Studio. Now, sometimes when you open up a project you've been working on using that .sln file, your form won't be here and you'll be thinking, oh no, my project's broken. I did save all and everything. Where's my form? You need to go over to this Solution Explorer on the right and just double click on the form and then it should open up. So there's our form there. Now, if we go down in these toolboxes, which we've got all Windows forms here, and it's pretty much in alphabetical order, you'll see there is a timer here. Now, we're not going to drag it out because we've already done it, but the thing is, when you drag that across onto your form, you probably won't see it under here the way your screen's set up. And what you need to do is there's some bars here that you can drag. So see these things, when you move onto them carefully with your mouse, they either get these double arrowheads and then you can move them. So if you move that one up, you can see here's our timer right here, okay? So we couldn't see it before because this guy was dragged down, all right? And if that guy's dragged right up and this guy's dragged right down, you know, you won't see things. So we need to get that guy out the way and this guy, just mouse till you get the double arrows, then you push down on your mouse and pull it up and there's your timer. Now, to get to the properties of your timer, you need to make sure you are clicked on the timer that's underneath the form. So click on that timer that's underneath the form and then you'll see its properties over here on the right, and there's not many of them, and we're just going to leave it with its default name of timer 1, okay? So we can just go back to our video, our project and everything now, wherever that is, which is right here. And we can see we're setting the name just to be timer 1. Enabled is true. So the time is going to be enabled here, and interval is 1000. Now what these things mean is that timer is timer 1, set enabled to true. 1000 will give you an interval of about 1 second for each tick of the clock. Okay, so that's what we need to get sort of normal clock time, is to have the interval to 1 second. So every second that clock is ticking, okay? And that's all we need to do for that. Now this whole icon image thing, getting that little clock in the left-hand corner, like you can see here, this tiny little clock up the left-hand corner. Now how does that all work? Well, we've made an ICO clock image for you, so you can actually get the downloads for this lesson. If you click on the link in the YouTube video, you can get those downloads and you can get the clock ICO that we've made. So that wasn't too hard to make, just a bit of work in Photoshop to make that. But what you need to do is, if you're going to get your own Google image, or you are making an icon sometime for a program, you need to realize it needs to be 256 by 256 in size. So it needs to be a perfect square. And if you're a lot of shapes and things, you get clip arts and that won't be 256 by 256 and they will not be a perfect square. So you need something like Adobe Photoshop. And if you open it up in Photoshop and go up the top of Photoshop and do image and image size, normally this chain here chains together with a line between them, the width and the height, so that they stay in proportion. But what you want to do is you want to remove that constraining, that constrained proportion. So you click on that chain so they're not linked together. Then you'll be able to set both of them to exactly 256 and 256. And that'll be how you can get a perfectly square shape. And you save that as clock face PNG. Save it not as a JPG file, but do file save as and make it a PNG file, because there's still some more work to do. But with the extra work, if you are making your own one, there's a site, convertico.com. all right, now you just go to that site And look, there's these advertising buttons here. Sometimes there's blue ones, sometimes there's green ones. Don't click on them. They just take you to ads and things, which is kind of a typical thing of these online utilities. But see where the cloud is here? You just click on that and go to where you've got your PNG file on your device, and then it'll upload pretty quickly. And when this appears here with a picture of your icon, you just click this pink button with the arrow to download it, and that'll go to the downloads folder in your computer, and it'll be a .ico file. It'll be an icon format so that we can now bring it into VBNet. Okay, so it's got to be an ICO format. Easiest way is to use convertico.com. If that site disappears, just Google for an ICO file maker, free ICO conversion or something, and you'll find another one pretty quickly, I'd imagine. Okay, now how do we add that into VB once we've downloaded and got our ICO images? You need to click anywhere on the form, right, anywhere in this purple part to bring up the form properties, and there's a property called icon, and on that icon property click on the triple dots button here. Okay, so that's step one. And when you click on that triple dots, it'll just open up a normal Windows file navigator. In that one, you just need to kind of navigate down to where you've got your ICO file, or if you've got our one from the downloads folder, is probably easiest enough for the downloads file for the lesson. Just click on that once to highlight it, then you click on this open button at the bottom, okay? And as soon as you do that, what should happen is your icon should appear in the top left-hand corner. All right, so that's how to get little icon images, make your program look a bit more professional and customized, and that's a fairly easy thing to do, and another tool in your toolkit. So I know people are sitting there thinking, Passy, you promised us games, you promised us all these fun things. We're just making a boring clock. Well, look, you're just getting some little tools together, like a tradesman, like someone who's going to be a carpenter. You know, they've got their self-driving screw drill now, and they've got their hammer, and they're getting a nail gun. We're putting all these tools together to help you build projects. So let's get into the code now. Our form is fully set up with everything on it, the timer, the icon to make it look professional, those labels and a button. So let's code the program code for that close button, which is the simplest code. So on your form, where that close button is, double click on it, and that will make VBNet generate some code for you and go into the code editor. All right, so this will, double clicking on that will generate code for the event that the button is clicked on by a user. And VBNet writes this code here shown in blue, all right? So do not try and write this code yourself. I keep telling my students, do not write that code yourself. Just click on the form and get VBNet to do it. Because look, it's very easy to leave out a comma or have the wrong space or do something wrong with that, and then the things don't work, okay? And you need to have when you did your form, make sure this thing was called BTN close click, because then that'll come up okay in both ends of this code as well. If you've got it just left it as button 1, that can present problems too, and your code won't look exactly the same as this. And then the one-liner, all we need to close down and finish your program is a statement called end. Hey, we just want to end this whole thing and get out of it. So all we have to manually type in is E with capital E and D in there, and that's the code for the close button done. So we need to test that straight away. So always our program development strategy is, let's just add a little bit of code in and then just test it to see that that code works. Don't go adding like in all of the code for a whole project and then testing it, because then you can have many errors in many different places, and it's really hard to then go back and find out where you need to do the fix. Okay, so we'll just check this close button straight away. So you need to get back to your form out of that code editor, and as we taught you in the jumping button program, you just click view up the top and go to designer, and that'll reopen your normal form in designer view. And then up the top of the screen, there's a start button with a green arrow. So step 2, you just click that start button that has the green arrowhead on it. Then your program should run with all its pieces on it, and then this close button here, clicking that, should just close that whole form down, and it'll disappear just like pushing the normal X will. So look, let's just show it to you anyway, because we've got it open in Visual Studio. So here's our form, and see up the top here is this start button. All you have to do is click that and your program runs. Now it does take a little while for it to run and put the time in. See how there's a little delay there with the date and time? But that's all working well. It is Monday, it is 9 8:34 a.m. Yep, that looks right on the desktop clock. The real desktop clock I've got here, which is a Sony one, by the way. Sony, good gear, the Sony. Now, Monday, yep, that's all working fine. Now, when we click this close button, it should be the same effect as just closing down a window with that X button. So there we go, it's closed it down. All right, and here we go again. Let's just run it and show you that close button. The X would do the same thing. And we're going to show you one more thing as well. When a program's running, sometimes a program's running and you can't get it to stop because your close button code or something isn't right and it's just staying there. Up the top here where that green arrow was, there's a pause button and there's a red square here to stop the program. So sometimes, yeah, the panic button is this red square and you have to press the red square to stop your program from running, okay? So that's a few things about that. Just some basic visual, basic fundamentals. There we go, the close button is done. Now we just need to add the timer coding that's going to actually make those names of the days and times and dates and everything appear up. So double click anywhere in the colored background of the form because we need something to happen when the form loads up, okay? So we're not doing the timer yet, the timer itself. We're just doing when the form loads up. So double click anywhere in that background color. And what will happen is VBNet, so here we are, there's our form. Double click anywhere like in this blank area here on the background and VBNet will write some more code. This one is a form 1 load subroutine, okay? So when that program starts up and the form loads, straight away before it does any other code, we just want it to do some things here. And we've got our timer enabled, but we actually need to start it up. A bit like a stopwatch, you have to, it might be turned on and everything, but you need to press a button to get it ticking and get it started. So you need timer1.start brackets, that code exactly as it's shown there. So double click anywhere in the form, you'll get the form load subroutine, the standard code that's going to go in there for when a form initially loads up. And we use this load subroutine quite a bit in programming, and timer1.start to get the timer going, okay? So that code needs to be typed in very carefully exactly as it's shown there. All right, now, we need the timer to display those values. So we actually double click on that timer symbol that's underneath the form. Okay, so this time we're not double clicking on the form. Where that timer is showing, this time double click on the timer, and that's going to write some code for what you want to happen for every tick of the timer. So remember, we set the properties for 1000, so it was ticking every second. We've now started it up, so it started ticking. Now every time it ticks, we want it to go and get the current date and the current time. All right, so in the time box, the label, it's label time, the .text property, we're going to set that to time of day. Now that's a special Visual Basic function, so you've got to spell it exactly like it is there, and that will give you the time of day, okay? So all this code needs to be typed in exactly as it is here. And if you're in the USA for that date format, remember how you guys put month first? You use capital MM, then /DD, and that'll get yours around the right way. Now you might be wondering, why don't we use little m for months like we've used little d for days and little y for years? Why haven't we used lowercase m for month? Well, the reason for that is that VBNet uses lowercase m for time, okay? So m is for minutes, little m, big M is for months, all right? So that's how that worked out like that. All right, now these format commands, format now, what now does is now gets the current date, okay? So that's a VBNet function that we're coding here. We're doing a format function saying, get the current date, and from that date, just get me a 4-day format, which means it'll get the name of the day. All right, if you just have 2-day format like here, that will get like that today is 09 or 10, but 4Ds will get that it's Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, all right? So if you want to know more about this, we've got a whole dates processing lesson in our application programming course where we go through all about date formats and things like that. But that wasn't the object of this lesson. We're just trying to learn how to use the timer so that we can make this talking alarm clock in the next lesson, and we'll be able to use timers in our programs, in our games programs. So let's test that timer coding. So you test that green arrow start button, and as we saw, after a short delay, it should be showing the time and the date and all of that, and clicking close should close the clock. And that is the end of this lesson. All right, so quick lesson. It's just reinforcing what you learned about forms and putting things onto forms, how to run your program, all those sort of basic things, because we are starting with the basics. You've got to, like a little baby, you've got to learn to crawl before you can walk, before you can run, okay? And running is where we'll get into the games programming. Now, the challenge task, there isn't a challenge task for this lesson, but the next lesson will kind of be the challenge class where we make the talking alarm clock. So this will show you the current time, but you'll be able to set a time for the alarm to go off and a message with the computer is going to talk to you. So that's going to be fun, and that's going to be something you can use in a few games. Like, you know, when it says game over, you can actually have the computer say game over, which will be kind of, you know, neat and good fun. All right, because that's what this course is about. It's fun and games. That's why we've got the purple Hawaiian shirt on. So the fun and games course, you can go to our website, PassiWorldOfICT.com, and we encourage you to do so. And there's a index tab up the top called VB Games, okay? And that will take you into our games programming course, or you can just type /VB Games on the end of this URL and get there the same way. And that has the course, and that'll show you the lessons you need to do in order, because each one builds on the previous one. So look, if you're an experienced programmer, that's fine. You can just go down and have a look at the particular game or thing you want to make. That's all right. But we're assuming you're complete beginners, which means you need to do them in order. So look, thanks very much for watching. Please give this video a like, a big thumbs up, and please subscribe, because we're getting really close to 1,000 subscribers, where we might be able to then get our first YouTube partnership or something like that. I don't think you make much money though. I think like you get 1,000 views on YouTube or something and they give you 20 cents, or I don't know, maybe 50 cents. But look, it would buy me a coffee, and I need a coffee right now. But yeah, look, we hope you've enjoyed this video. Subscribe, because we're going to be putting out videos every week or two, because we really want to get this games course up and running and get all of you guys having fun with VBNet. So we'll see you in the next lesson. And we didn't cough once. Good. See ya.